there would be an issue probably, and it wouldn't take long because he tried to act like he was a tough kid, and
Yeah.
I was a tough kid for real.
Yeah.
And, we would have had an issue for sure. And, maybe he would have got me. Maybe I would have got him because he would stab
Yeah.
you without a question. He would stab you.
Oh
So,
shit.
I might have ended up out of Big Sandy a lot sooner than I did.
Yeah, but you might be. I mean, I'll tell you this. So I want to shout it out. We'll have a link in the description. Blood on the Razor Wire is your book, and this book is fantastic. And I'm not like we were talking about it pre-show. The description you have in the book, it's so good that it seems like it's fiction. You know what I mean? Like that's how good the description is and the detail. It's phenomenal. And you talk about some of the violence that occurs at Big Sandy. So you had said like even like right away when you got there was a guy jumped like the couple days like right before and stuff. But you mentioned the word car, and car is slang for like group or gang or clique. Right. And you in the book, you talk about it. You were like, and Kelly, the guy, Kelly would tell you, no gangs, whatever you do, no gangs. Right. What is the fear? Because you think like they say, like, okay, yeah, you're white. All the white guys stick together, but don't join a gang. Right. Like what is, and not all the white guys did stick together. But what was like the big fear or the no of like, hey, you don't join these gangs? You know what I mean?
Well, really, man, this is how federal prison works, right? You got a lot of white supremacist gangs, not all of them are racist.
Yeah.
But, the white gangs were like imposing their will, we got the numbers. So if we got the numbers, we got the power.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like being from the East Coast, we had an East Coast car, right? So there's a bunch of white dudes in the East Coast car, but our shot caller ended up taking a bunch of other people and from down south, and we just became what was called the independent car. But we were like, look, we're not letting white gang members push us around, do whatever you want to us. It's just, that's not how it's going to work. And now we had the numbers, and what we became a white gang, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now we had the numbers. So, it's like they hate it's crazy because it's like the independents hate the white gang members. You're always, you always want to clash with your own people when you probably shouldn't be that way. There is more strength in numbers. But that was what, that's the situation there. People are in there with 40 years, 50 years life. People are actually looking for reasons to do stuff to people. Like they feel good about it. It's part of prison life. Like that's how they pass their day. Yeah. And I've been involved in situations where, the shot caller's like, yo, look, man, we're going to smash this dude. And I'm just kind of thinking in my head, like, smash him for what? Yeah. Well, he sat at our table. He disrespected us. He should have never sat there. And I'm thinking in my head, like, this dude's like 50 years old. He's like, reminds me of one of my uncles. Like, we're going to beat this dude up because he sat at our table. Are you serious? A table that we really don't own?
Yeah.
So, people would always look for reasons in every race, bro. Black, Spanish, I don't care what group you're in. People were looking for, problems in there, man. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, getting yourself involved in a gang, it's just, it's like, hey, man, there's two sides here. You want to be a white gang member or you want to be a white independent? But really, you're a gang member, no matter what.
Right.
Yeah. The independents ended up being a gang. Yeah, like you're saying. And you would talk about it too. The one guy, your shot caller of the independents, he would eventually be giving out like Ronald Reagan speeches, getting you guys hyped up, ready to go. Right. Like by the time you get to like chapter like 11, 12, like that area, that guy is like, he's, I mean, he was like, we're taking like, I guess the white boy, dirty white boys. Right. I get like, I think no, from what it seems, no one likes the dirty white boys, right? So.
Well, let me tell you a little history on that, though. I did a video on it the other day.
Okay.
But that's because the dirty white boys were at the top of the food chain once upon a time in federal prison. They became the biggest white gang in federal prison, right? And people are like, what about the Aryan Brotherhood? Well, yeah, I mean, they just didn't have the numbers in state prison in California, all of that stuff. But when you get to a Fed joint and there's like 2 ABs on 1 yard, you're like, they don't wield the power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's federal prison. So, the DWBs ended up becoming probably one of the biggest white gangs. And when you're at the top of the food chain, other people dislike you, right? I mean, look at the president. President Trump, people hated him. Just, he's at the top.
Yeah.
Now Biden, people hate him because, you're at the top.
Yeah.
But when you're at the top, other people despise you. They start making their own groups. Them dudes ain't going to tell us what to do. They ain't calling the shots here.
Yeah.
So people, despise the DWBs. And eventually, on the video I talked about the other day, there's a kid in my unit, Mikey Eck, and they end up, stabbing him in the face, stab him in the eye, just because we don't like them DWBs. Them dudes are scumbags. They're extorting good white dudes.
Yeah.
And, when they're saying that shit, the same dudes that were saying that, once they got power, they became the dudes extorting white dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Man, oh, gosh. And you do talk about that stuff and everything in the book, which we'll have a link in the description. And the video you're talking about is available now on your YouTube channel, Blood on the Razor Wire. So very, very, very highly suggest checking that out. So like you're saying though, you're in there, and when you're real young, right? Like, are you looking for, like, what are you, like, you're really in survival mode when you're in there, right? And you're going through day to day, and you're trying to like pick things out, but you're not trying to start shit, and you know what I mean? Like, you're just kind of staying light, but eventually something would happen to you, right? Like you got stabbed in the face, right?
Well, I ended up getting stabbed in the back. I got stabbed in the back at another prison. When I was in state prison, I was stabbed in the face in state prison. But that's a whole nother story, right?
Yeah.
But I ended up getting stabbed in state prison in the face. I did 2 years in state prison, came home. I was home 14 months, became a crack dealer, like you said. And, I ended up with a 40-year sentence. I was only home 14 months and ended up with 40 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually I do end up getting stabbed in prison, but not at Big Sandy. That was in another prison.
Okay.
But I do end up getting jumped at Big Sandy.
Okay.
By a kid named Ace, who had the independent car.
Yeah.
He wanted the independent car. Ace would eventually be shot from the gun tower, stabbing someone else a year after my incident.
Oh my.
They shoot him in the back with an AR-15. They blow his guts out of his stomach. The nurse is on the ground cleaning, like trying to get the dirt off his guts and stick them back in his stomach. But Ace ends up dying at Big Sandy, and blood left on the razor wire.
That's crazy. Like, you're saying that was such a regular occurrence though, right? Like, I remember, like, when you told that story about Ace, because what had happened was, it was like these two other guys weren't like from Ohio or something, weren't feeling him, and they went to jump him, right? And the one guy runs away, and the other guy gets on top of him and is going at him, right? And then Ace gets shot. And then like after that, you list like a couple other things that happened, and that just seems like it was something that was so prevalent that happened all the time. Were there times ever where you're like, all right, I think everything's going to be good today, or today it seems like a light day, or was it always like on your toes, like hackles up,
Dude, every day is a dangerous day in federal prison, right? It's not Camp Good Day special times.
Yeah.
If you're in a maximum security federal prison, I don't care which one you're at. If you're in Pollock in Louisiana, if you're in Beaumont in Texas, if you're in Atwater in California, or Victorville, or Big Sandy, or McCrary, every day is a dangerous day. I would be happy when they used to have fog counts, right? In the fall, it gets real foggy. They come open the doors, and then they'd be like, okay, lock back in. You'd be locked in till 8:39, maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. That's the only time you could really sleep in, right?
Oh.
And then, they let you out, run breakfast, and then send you to work. But whenever there was a fog count, I was like, thank God, I'm getting locked in a cell. I'm in here with Mr. Young. I'm good. Mr. Young ain't going to attack me. He's about 60-something years old. Yeah. I'm not going to attack Mr. Young. And we can go ahead and go to sleep and get some rest. And it's not even physical. You're not just exhausted physically, but you're exhausted mentally, man.
Because you're always thinking, always looking, always on your toes.
And because of that, I did all that time. But even now, when I go to a restaurant, I want to sit with my back to the wall. I watch people that come in, especially with all this crazy shit going on in the world now, right?
Yeah.
I want to be able to, see. I'm in the post office a lot because I own a paralegal and prison consultant firm. So I'm always sending out stuff, but the door beeps when people walk in, bing, bing, and I'll always look, and I find myself, the clerk's here, and I find myself to the side where I'm watching this person. If they're a young person, usually old people, I'm like, all right, we're cool. But, I'm always watching, man. We go to Walmart. It's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
And even with my wife, I tell her, look, man, if anything ever happened, this is what you do. You don't just start you go to where that shipping and receiving is, where in the grocery store where the dude that's doing the meat, he's coming